Welcome everybody. You're very welcome to our Graduate and Professional Studies December webinar, the last one of 2025 actually. So on our session this afternoon, we hope we can help you with any queries that you might have on programs that either are commencing in January or spring 2026, or more likely for autumn 2026, which is September 2026. My name is Niamh O'Mahony and I will be hosting this afternoon's session. I'm joined in this call by a host of colleagues from across University of Limerick. We have James Nolan, our expert from admissions team, who will be able to help you with questions on your application, the application process, and any sort of eligibility that you might have queries on. We also have our colleagues here, our moderators, Noel, Bola, Anna and Laura, and they'll be moderating and posting links in the chat and answering questions where they can. We also know that we have a mix of people here today, and all of our faculties are represented here. We have Lynn O'Doherty and Sinead Liston from Education and Health Sciences, and we have Megan Howell from Science and Engineering. And we also have Anna Sunis and Laura Chalk answering questions on Arts, Humanities and Social Sciences and the Chemie Business School. Now, if we can't answer your specific question today, we'll be able to point you in the right direction, and that's why all the experts are here. And we have a lot to cover today. Our spotlight is on education programs, but of course, we're going to be assisting you with general queries as well regarding all courses. We have lots registered, and as you may or may not know, we have over 200 postgraduate programs here. So we have a lot to cover. But I'm going to give you a running order of how we're going to do that today. So first, we'll have an introduction from our faculty teams and our admissions teams. They're going to give you a general overview of their roles, the type of programs that they look after, and what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to ask a direct question about your course in the chat, and that's how we suggest you do it. So when you are asking a question, make sure to let us know what course you are interested in, because it means that the person in the chat knows that they need to answer the question for you. If we have time at the end, we'll definitely address some common questions that might be asked, but we want to try and answer as many specific questions as possible. So once we're finished with the general introductions, we'll be shining a light specifically on education programs, which I know lots of you are here to hear about. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to Dr. Philip Carney from the MSc in Applied Sports Coaching, Dr. Diarmuid Lane from the Professional Master of Education, and Dr. Petra Elthorpe from the MA in Guidance Counselling, who will be giving us brief overviews and being able to hear, and will be here to answer any questions that you might have. So feel free to pop your questions into the chat, and just a reminder to let us know specifically what program you might be interested in. And also just a reminder that today's session is going to be recorded, so it'll be available afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to start off, and I'm going to just ask James to come in from admissions. Just James, do you want to give us a general overview of what you're here to answer? And I'll bring you back in a little bit later after the rest of the faculties, but do you want to just give us an introduction to yourself and the type of queries that you look after?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. Okay, so in the admissions team in Graduate and Professional Studies, what we do is we shepherd you through the application process from start to finish. So once you make that decision that you want to apply to something in UL, you click apply now on the relevant web page. Your application will come to our team and you will be assigned a program coordinator. Once you're attached to that program coordinator, they're going to shepherd you through the application process. If you have any queries, concerns, if you're missing any documentation, and once we have enough documentation or a complete application together, we're going to liaise with the relevant course director on your behalf to get a decision from that course director on your application, and we will feed that decision back to you. So in a nutshell, we are the link between you and the course director who makes the ultimate decision. Okay. Now in this webinar, Noel is going to be posting a series of web pages, and those are the general web pages from fees to funding to scholarships. Most of the queries we tend to get are answered on those pages. If you want to go to a granular level in terms of the program pages and the program that you're specifically interested in, you should go to that web page, look and see if all the information is there that you need. But if you do have a query, it's very, very easy to contact us, okay? Now, your query might be academic, and if it is academic, what you do is you click on the course director's name or their nominated contact point on the web page, and you can ask them the academic question about your program. If your query is more related to the application process, the application procedure, an issue I have and how to apply, or there's something wrong, then you can contact us at the top of each page or the bottom of each page. There's a contact us button, and that'll get you directly to the admissions team. Okay.
Okay, great. James, I'm going to bring you back in a minute. I just want to get the others introduced first. That's okay.
Perfect.
Great. Okay, Megan from Science and Engineering, do you want to pop on and let us know what programs you can assist with?
Yeah, sure. So I am the rep for Faculty of Science and Engineering. We have a range of master's courses, like just because it's not mentioned, but we would cover maths, and we have School of Architecture and Product Design, process safety and physics and all that. We cover everything in there. We have a list of our programs online that you can find, and I'll be able to help with any questions to do with those disciplines.
Great, thanks so much, Megan. So Megan will be available throughout the whole duration. So if you have any questions relating to science and engineering programs, please don't hesitate to ask. Thanks so much, Megan. Okay, I'm going to bring Lynn or Sinead in. Lynn, are you there?
Yeah, thanks so much.
Hi, Lynn.
Niamh, myself and my colleague Sinead Liston, who's on this call, as Niamh mentioned earlier, look after all of the teacher education programs and the education programs, and also the health sciences programs, which would include the sports programs, allied health programs, and psychology. So we're here to answer any of those questions. A question that has been coming up quite a bit is in relation to the Professional Diploma of Maths for Teachers. This normally opens in January. However, the government haven't put a call out yet, but there is a call expected in the new year, and the School of Education here within UL will put forward, will submit a proposal for that third bid. I will put a contact email address in the chat, just if any of you have any other queries about that particular program, or indeed when it's opening, but there isn't really I can't give you a firm answer.
Okay, thanks a million, Lynn.
No
so I suppose the thing, Lynn's going to pop an email into the chat, but another thing is a lot of you have probably come to this session because you've registered interest in Maths for Teaching. So if you have registered for interest in Maths for Teaching, we will contact you if we receive any information. So just make sure to keep an eye on your emails regarding that. We will, of course, update everybody once we get information about that. But unfortunately, it's not for application yet. So thanks a million for that. The other thing to highlight is Lynn and obviously looks after a lot of the nursing and allied health programs as well. So you're more than welcome here. But just a reminder that about 2 weeks ago, we ran a dedicated webinar related specifically to the allied health programs. So occupational therapy, speech and language, physiotherapy, nursing, and graduate entry in medicine. So if you missed that webinar, Noelle is going to post a link to the YouTube of that webinar. So if you are here for any of those specific allied health programs, I really would suggest staying on, asking your question, but there's a lot of detailed information in that webinar that took place 2 weeks ago. So that's going to be available in the chat soon. Laura Chalk, I'm going to bring you in just really briefly to discuss arts, humanities and social science and KBS.
Great. Good afternoon, Niamh, and everyone on the call. I'm delighted to be here today to help people with queries on AHSS, which is Arts, Humanities and Social Sciences. So if you have any queries on English, Irish and Communications, Politics and Public Admin, History and Geography, the School of Law, Modern Languages, Sociology, and the Irish World Academy of Music and Dance. We can help with queries there. And then my colleague Anna is going to assist with queries on business programs. So if you're interested in programs in work and organizational behavior, in management, in accounting and finance, and marketing, Anna can assist there. So looking forward to helping you with your queries.
Great, thanks so much, Laura. Great. Okay, so as I mentioned, feel free to drop your question into the chat. And just one, so I'm going to bring James back in. James, do you want to come back in there? We're just going to address some admissions queries that we know a lot of people are here to look at. So I suppose actually just one thing to address. I can see some PhD programs, questions on PhD programs coming into the chat. My colleague is going to drop the email address for the doctoral college. That's really going to be your most important contact for any questions related to PhD supervising, subject matter, topic selection, etc. So this webinar really focuses on postgraduate taught programs. So the doctoral college looks after specifically those programs. So my colleagues are going to drop email address into the chat now. Okay, so James, just before we move on to the spotlight, I wanted to bring you back in because I know we have a lot of international students here, so you're all very welcome. Would you please just give us an overview of the application process for an international student and the things that they really need to consider when making their application?
Sure. Okay. So the biggest difference is, I mean, the application process is pretty much the same, but the biggest thing is timelines around visa requirements. So, are you coming from a visa required country or not? If you are, you need to get your application in as quick as possible because there will be a lag time in terms of obtaining your visa. Okay. Now our application deadlines for standard applications is August of next year, but they're actually in June for visa required countries for international applicants. So that gives you time to apply for your visa, and it can be a cumbersome process. Now, I see a lot of questions in the chat about, can I come to UL if I'm studying part-time? Unfortunately, you won't get a visa if you're coming to study a part-time program in UL. It must be full-time taught. But just in terms of the application process itself, it's the very, very same, but we do ask for international applicants to apply as early as possible just because of the length of time it takes to process visa applications.
Yeah. And James, there is specific entry requirements per country, correct?
There is. Now, I'm not the expert on those in terms of the entry requirements, but what will happen is your designated program coordinator will work through all of that with you. And if you have any queries, just come to us in advance and we can talk you through that, but that's not a problem.
Yeah. And the other question that we get asked quite a lot is around the English language requirement. So I can ask you around the global side, but if there obviously is an English language requirement, and if your transcripts aren't in English, they need to be translated, and you need to do it into English language competency test.
Yeah, so if your qualifications have been obtained in a country where English is the official language, that will suffice. But if not, you will have to get them officially translated, and they will have to be submitted as part of your application when you're applying. In terms of the English language assessment, and I think we'll be popping that into the channel as well if it's not there, we do have a web page dedicated to the forms of English language assessment tests that we accept, and those are the only ones that we do accept, the ones listed on the UL webpage. So if you go there, you can pick which one you want to take up. The key thing about the English language assessment is, again, it takes time to do an English test or to provide proof of your English language competency. You can still apply in the meantime, because we have two types of offers we can issue you with. We can issue you with an unconditional offer where you don't have to meet any condition of an offer, or we can issue you with a conditional offer. That's where the course leader has assessed your application, is happy to have you on board, but you still haven't provided an English language assessment grade or assessment mark. So right. You can't start in UL next August until you satisfy that requirement, and it's up to you to satisfy that requirement, but don't let that put you off applying in the first instance.
Yeah, okay, great. So the key takeaway is make sure that you apply early, don't hang around. I think it's probably the cutoff is July, James. Is that correct for visa
It's 1st of
applications?
July. It's gone back to the 1st of July. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
even if the program remains open for application, because it will remain open for application until August, it won't be possible for you to get a visa for that program. So it's really important that if you are applying internationally, to July is your cutoff point. And then
And
finally,
just to
oh,
point
sorry, go
out,
ahead.
Niamh, that some programs, if they're a highly competitive program, they may close before July as well, or before June or July. So we have some programs, especially in science and engineering, that may close as early as April or May. So don't delay in terms of, don't work backwards from a closing deadline. If you're interested, apply.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. I suppose James's team processes applications on a rolling basis. So once somebody applies, they're offered relatively quickly. So as soon as that course fills up, there are no spaces available on the course. So, even though application deadline is August, that doesn't mean that a program won't close for application early. Okay, so don't hang around, make the application and accept the offer as well, which is important, right? So, okay, that's fine, James. There was one other thing which applies to everybody, because there's lots of students here who are going to be paying fees into the new year, if they're going to be coming on board. Can you just tell us, there is an application fee, there's an accept fee, and then can you pay in installments, or all the fees required up front?
Okay, so the first thing you'll be asked for is a €50 application fee, which is non-refundable. If you're successful in gaining a place, you will be asked for an acceptance deposit. The acceptance deposit is €250 for EU and €1,000 for non-EU. So those are in line with other colleges. Both of those are non-refundable as well. Once you get to tuition fees, UL operates semesterized billing. So that means you'll be billed twice in the year. So for semester 1 and semester 2. And then if you want to go down an installment route, that is a facility that's offered by the fees office directly, and you can engage with them. So once you have accepted your offer and once you're hitting the onboarding stage, you can apply to them directly for an installment arrangement.
Okay, great. Thanks a million, James. I think there'll most likely be more questions in the chat that we might address after our spotlights. So thanks a million on that, James. And
That's
I know
fine.
we
just
are.
To say the
Yeah.
contact form on our website is the easiest way to get to the admissions team, because we're answering queries as they come in. So generally we'll turn those around in the same day. But if you do have a query in anything, or can guide you in the right direction, we'll do so.
Yeah, exactly. And I think James made the point at the start, whereby, if you're interested in a program, the course director's details are on the course page, but the course director will really guide you in terms of, whether the course is suitable for you. Our admissions team wouldn't be able to tell you whether the course is suitable for you, but they'll be able to talk you through how you can maybe get into that course. So, sometimes these webinars are really just about navigating through the environment as well. And it's important that we put these messages out there. Thanks a million, James. So we obviously addressed those questions quite early on, before we spoken about much things. But I suppose it is important that we address those questions, because from future from previous webinars that we have had lots of people ask those questions in the chat. So hopefully that will answer a lot of your questions up front. So I think we're going to switch over. I can see lots of chat going on lots of information going on in the chat, which is great. But I'm going to switch over and I'm going to introduce our spotlight session on education. So first, I'm going to introduce Dr. Petra Elfthorpe. Petra, if you're there, please turn on your camera and I can bring you in. I can see you. Hi, Petra, how are you? Welcome, and thank you so much for coming along today. I know we've got lots of people who've registered specifically for the MA in Guidance Counselling, so I'll hand it over to you and take it away.
Brilliant, thanks, Med. Yeah, great to be here and see people interested in studying UL and particularly around the area of education. So I'm course director for the Masters in Guidance Counselling and Lifespan Development. And hopefully you can see my slides there. I'm on slide 2, and I just said
I can see that.
Perfect. I've kind of framed a few. I just have a few slides, and I've based the content here on the kind of frequently asked questions that we tend to get from people who are interested. So first of all, who should be, who is this program suitable for? You would want to have an interest in career development, in supporting and being in a helping profession. So it is a professional qualification. It is part-time, so we get mostly people who remain in full-time or part-time employment while they complete the studies. And it is not, I suppose, suitable for someone who imagines that this is a job where you sit in an office, see the odd person on a one-to-one basis, and that's it, because it is quite a demanding and social role requiring networking skills and liaising with a lot of different stakeholders. And I think some of the things that we hear back from graduates is that it's an incredibly rewarding role when you're out in the world of work as a guidance counsellor. There's quite a lot of autonomy, maybe compared to other professions in education a lot of the time. And you do get a great sense of fulfillment and a sense of purpose, because you are helping people making choices and career decisions and progressing and moving forward in your career, in their career. We do have a minimum requirement, so it is a master's program. So that means you need to have an honours undergraduate degree at a minimum of 2.2. So the next piece here is a little bit complex. So you do not have to be a teacher to get onto this program. A lot of our students are, but far from all. We have an increasingly diverse student cohort, which is brilliant, because every student brings something different to discussions and conversations that we have on the program. So we really value a broad range of experience. If you come from industry, from maybe social work, we have students with clinical nursing backgrounds, all sorts of backgrounds. So I suppose your interest in wanting to help others in their careers and career decisions is essential. But what's really important to mention is that if you are interested in working in post-primary schools as a guidance counsellor, then you do need to have a separate teaching qualification. That's just how the labour market looks, and that's down to the Department of Education and Youth. So they have that requirement, but we have graduates that end up working in post-primary, but also in further education, adult guidance services, in higher education career services, private practice, prison education, probation services, increasingly so in the HSE actually, and lots of other areas. So there's quite a lot of different possibilities on graduation, but it's important to be aware that if you do not have a teaching qualification, you won't be able to get a job in a post-primary school on graduation from our programme. In terms of being a student on the programme then, the time commitment is quite intense. So we have 11 modules and they're spread out over 24 months. Attendance is really, really essential, and that active participation. So it's a blended programme, but we still have a 70% of the content is delivered in person on campus and 30% online. And I've broken that down by semester in the coming slide. But we do have very sort of engaging way of teaching, a lot of experiential, discussion-based and group work involved. There is obviously an expectation that you'd engage in independent study outside of the taught face-to-face or online taught hours as well. In terms of assessment, we don't do any exams or end of term or end of year exams. We have lots of different types of assignments. Most modules would have maybe 2 assignments per module, both group and independent assignments that are scaffolded by, we tend to do tutorials on academic writing and all that. So if it's a long time since you were in 3rd level and that you get support throughout, it's kind of built into the design of the programme as well. Okay, so I know a lot of the questions tend to be around, well, what does blended mean? What does it look like? And what about, you know, how much do I have to be on campus? So this is the way it currently looks. It's very unlikely to change to next year or the year after, but I suppose just a caveat that it's not completely impossible that it would change a small bit. But typically over one semester is 12 weeks. So in semester 1, you would take 2 modules. The first one is a professional practice module, which is 12 Tuesday evenings. 4 of those are on campus, and that's spread out over those 12 weeks, and the other 8 are online. Now, they're not hybrid, so you can't pick and choose if you're online or on campus. There are specific dates that are on campus, and the other ones then are online. And then the other module that you would be studying in semester 1 in year 1 is the first of the counselling skills modules, and that is 6 full Saturdays. So roughly every second Saturday you'd be in from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then semester 2 looks very similar. You have a Tuesday evening module, again 4 on campus, 8 online, and then 6 full Saturdays. Or typically 5 Saturdays and 1 Sunday is the way we run it in that semester. And then you have a summer module as well. We tend to schedule that the first week in June. Attendance, full attendance there is really, really important. It's spread usually out over 4 or 5 full days in 1 week. And you'd have an assignment with that typically submitted within maybe 3 weeks of being on campus. So even though you're registered as a student over the summer as well, you have a summer module, you do tend to get a nice break for sort of July and August from the studies before year 2 begins. And then semester 1 and year 2, very similar structure, but you have the addition of a placement going on at this point. So typically people spend 4 hours a week in a placement. I'll go into that slightly more detail in a minute. Semester 2 then is quite different because you're still on your placement 4 hours a week. But now you're doing your dissertation, and obviously that's much more independent work. You don't have any taught modules going on in semester 2 of year 2, and the same in the summer. So semester 2 and the summer semester look quite different from the previous ones. Now we do offer an exit award, and this is mentioned on the website and can be a little bit complex to understand in full, but everyone who wants to become a guidance counsellor in UL, they would register on the master's programme. So that's everyone. Even if you go in thinking, I'd prefer to go with the exit award, you still registered as a master's student. In year 2, you get to opt out of the dissertation element only. So that's only writing up a dissertation that you can opt out of, and it means that you would graduate in June of the second year with a graduate diploma in guidance counselling and lifespan development. It's still fully recognised by the Department of Education and Youth. So there's no real difference in that sense. Some students that are considering that option would wonder if you might be disadvantaged on the labour market when you're looking for a job if someone has a master's and you have a graduate. No one's come back and reported that has disadvantaged them. Some people will come onto our programme and they might have a master's degree already and feel I've done that piece, I don't need it. Other people are just really interested in getting the research done. So I'm happy to have conversations about that from anyone who's on the programme, but it tends to be something that people make up their mind fully sort of at the start of year 2, really. And just to note that if anyone's opting then for the exit award, there is no reduction in fees because you're still a registered student all through the spring semester of year 2 as well. You have the option, I know that was one of the questions that came in ahead of today, you can actually come back and complete the dissertation at a later stage and qualify with a master's degree. Now, there are some things to note. You have to be not registered for a full year before you can come back and complete the dissertation. And I think you have to do it within within a number, could be up to 10 years or something, so that the program hasn't been kind of outdated or changed too much since you did the graduate diploma. And I'll just quickly run through these because it is very common questions that we get. If you can do your placement in your place of work, that is allowed because you source your own placement. We do strongly recommend that you look outside of your current workplace because it tends to be really valuable learning that way. But for some, it's just not practical, and it is absolutely allowed to do it in your place of work, as long as you have a guidance counsellor working there that will agree to mentor you, and that needs to be a qualified guidance counsellor. I think I just had one more then. Some people ask, could they do the program 100% remotely? And no, that's not possible. You do need to attend. So as I mentioned earlier, 70% of the content is delivered face-to-face, and 30% online. And then, yes, sometimes we get, because I suppose it can be a little bit muddied sometimes in terms of what's a guidance counsellor versus a counsellor, but when you come out with this qualification, you're a qualified guidance counsellor, not a therapeutic counsellor. So although we have counselling skills modules, they're counselling skills that you use in the guidance context as opposed to you studying to become a therapist. So I suppose that's an important distinction to note as well. I've included a few websites there, so I don't know if the slides can be shared afterwards as well, but that's what I had, so I'll stop sharing. And I will be logging off the call quite shortly, but my colleague Karen is there and might be able to answer some of the questions in the chat as well.
That's great. Thanks so much, Petra. I had a few questions, but you have definitely addressed them all. The one question that I was just wondering, and you may have addressed it, is the last question where you said about people doing their doing their placement within their place of work. Do you have to be in employment to do the masters, or
No,
can you do it part-time and not work within the field at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So we often have, I suppose it needs to have an educational element, the placement host. But we've had people who've done that in a probation service, for example,
right,
and they might come from social work background and no prior experience there. So no, you don't have to be in employment to be on the programme or to do the placement.
Okay, that's excellent. I think that's it for me. That was really comprehensive, Petra. Thanks so much. As you said, you will be heading off soon, but if you have any more questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat, and Karen is here to support as well around the programme. So thanks so much, Petra. That was great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okie doke. I'm going to bring in Dr. Philip Carney then around the program in sports, applied sports coaching. Welcome, Philip. How are you? And I'll hand over to you to go through your information.
Super. Thank you very much, Niamh, and welcome everybody to the call. So I'm going to talk about the Masters in Applied Sports Coaching here at the University of Limerick. So who is this for? We're looking for experienced coaches. Typically, coaches on the program have between 10 and 15 years experience, so they're already very good at what they do, but what they're looking for is to take their practice to the next level. We have coaches coming from multiple sports. Some of them are professionals, such as tennis and golf. Others are in a range of individual and team sports, from Gaelic games to rugby to rowing, various martial arts. So a really diverse group of coaches that come through every year. Some of the coaches are coming from a high performance background, so they are working with international athletes or with youth international teams with various organizations, but other coaches are working within their local club context. What is common between them is that they are all interested in being excellent at what they do within their context, and our job is to help them, to support them to develop as more excellent sports coaching practitioners. The other point about who comes into this program is that about 50% of our coaches come through the recognition of prior learning route. That is that they do not have an undergraduate degree in a related discipline of sports coaching, sports science, or physical education. In fact, in many cases, they're coming in without an undergraduate degree. We welcome, because this is an applied sports coaching program, we welcome coaches with a really strong applied background, making a case for their inclusion on the program on the basis of their experiences. So what are we then delivering as we try and develop excellence within these coaches? So there are three strands to what we deliver. We have practitioner experts who come in from the field and share their practices, their stories with the coaches to inspire them as to how they can take their coaching to the next level. We draw upon the research as a master's in science. We are emphasizing that there's a vibrant body of sports coaching research there that can give you ideas and inspiration as to how you can change and develop your practice. And so we equip coaches with the skills to engage with and use that research most effectively. And the third strand is the peer group that you find yourself working with. So every single year, it comes back as one of the strongest comments from graduates of the program, the learning that they took from being part of a diverse peer group with a range of experiences across a range of sports, that range of perspectives, and closely working with them over the 2 years is a really powerful part of their journey. Our tagline for the program is that your coaching is the curriculum. So you choose the content, and we provide the skills and the scaffolding to fuel your development around that content. So if your focus is on improving your coach behaviors, if it's on improving your development of relationships, if it's the broader environment that you want to create, if it's your management and leadership, the aspects of your coaching that you see the need to prioritize, that's what we facilitate you to do. And it really is guided by you, the choice that you have in terms of the content, in terms of the assessments, in terms of the timing of elements. We emphasize, because we've got people coming into the program who are experienced, who are typically older, who are working, who are coaching, who are studying, who have a family life, that flexibility is really important to us in terms of how we deliver the program and in terms of meeting your needs as coaches. So what are the aspects that you need to go after? We're here to help you go after those. In terms of the delivery, it is blended. So typically there are 3 days on campus per semester. And then there's about 7 to 8 online contact days. So on campus days, we'll run from 9 to 4 on Mondays. Online days, we run online interactive sessions between 9 and 1:30. And there's a bit of variety session or semester to semester, but typically that's the pattern that we will follow through those. The other aspect that's really important is that you must be actively coaching. This is about taking ideas from your peer group, from the research, from the practitioners, implementing that in your practice, and bringing examples from your practice back to share with the group, to share with the tutors, to understand how you're developing your practice. So actively coaching is an essential aspect. Again, it doesn't matter what level that's at. We have people who are actively coaching at their local club, right through to high performance and international competitions. What matters is that you're actively coaching and you're pursuing excellence in your coaching. The other point I'll stress is that it's only a part-time coaching program. Why is it only part-time? Well, again, most coaches in Ireland are working and they're coaching. Now we're adding studying in on top of that as well. So it only makes sense to run this part-time to allow people to really engage with the content, to engage with their peers, and to get the most out of the program. The information is there on the screen in terms of the individuals we're looking for. We have up to 15 places that we can award each year, hoping to get that all those places sent out and assigned by the end of June this summer. And if you want to find out more, there's an email address, asc@ul.ie. I'll happily take any questions that you've got, and there's some more information there on the QR code if you follow that as well. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much, Philip. That's really excellent. And it just sounds like the program is just so engaged by its nature. You know, it's practical. I just have a question, 2 questions actually. You spoke about you know, the students' experience and work being the curriculum. I thought that was really interesting. Can you give us a little bit more of a background around with that experience? How is that then married with assignments, and you know, how then is that actually brought to fruition in terms of someone submitting, passing modules, you know, and getting the accreditation?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I take a very specific example, which students are working at the moment, so relationships is a really important part of any aspect of sports coaching. So students have a choice within the module that I'm currently teaching this semester to focus on either relationships or the broader coaching environment or behaviors. Let's say a student chooses relationships. Again, there's an enormous amount of choice that we offer there. Which relationship within coaching is important for you to explore and develop right now? Is it coach-athlete relationships? Is it athlete-athlete relationships within your group? Is it coach-coach relationships and those individuals that you're working with? Is it coach-parent-athlete relationships? Is it more specific than that? Are you interested in, do you have a need to explore the coach talented but challenging player relationship, which comes up very often? So again, we are here we understand the importance of relationships. We are here as the gatekeepers to the research, the practitioners who can help you with whichever aspect of relationships that you need to go after, if that's the aspect that you wish to pursue. And then in terms of the assessment on that, so again, this semester, it is an assessment of your relationships. So you're evaluating the quality of your relationships, the strategies to build and maintain relationships, and you're then developing an action plan as a result of that. So that's your introductory module that we have in terms of relationships. In terms of the choice, again, that I emphasized, if you wish to write your report on this, you can write it. If you wish to record a presentation on your report on this, you can record a presentation, because it's about enabling you to meet the learning outcomes in whatever means you feel is most effective for you to meet those learning outcomes. So hopefully that gives you a feel for how exactly we bring this idea of your coaching is the curriculum to life in the content and the assessment as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I definitely think, you know, because it's such an applied program, you know, professionals, people who are in the field, they come with problems that they maybe feel frustrated that they can't marry or meet. And it's really it's when, as you said, you're the gatekeepers of being able to bring the peer-reviewed research into how to meet those challenges that people are reoccurring. You know, you have to think, oh, I'm the only person who has this problem within my dynamic. But actually, when you come to study it, you realize there's literature on how to to manage these dynamics, you know. And just one final question for you, Philip, is around, there's obviously an additional requirement to have a coaching form. Is there any advice you'd give to people who are filling that out in terms of what type of thing are you looking for in that application form of your coaching experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've actually just dropped into the chat. There's a link there to a particular blog post that we did in the department blog around what you should think about when you're strengthening your application. So there's a variety of things that we're interested in hearing about, and that kind of details through, you know, what exactly that we are looking for to strengthen your application. So number one is engage with the resources that exist. If you search for applied sports coaching within the department blog, you'll see a wealth of resources that we've prepared so people can learn more about the program in advance. And again, that gives some really specific examples of what we're looking for. The other thing that I offer to everybody who's applying to the course is to send me a draft of your additional application document. So email it through to asc@ul.ie. I see drafts for the majority of people, and I will give you specific feedback in terms of what we want to see more of, how you can strengthen your application. And so the easiest thing to do there, draft it up, put your questions on the document, email it through, and we'll have a call, we'll have a conversation, and we can give you some feedback on that.
That's amazing. That's brilliant. Brilliant, Philip. It's really reassuring to hear that, I'm sure, because it can be quite daunting when it's like applying for a job, really, isn't it? If we could all get that feedback, it'd be great. Thank you so much, Philip. That's great. And I will let you off the hook now. And thank you so much. If there's any questions for Philip, please post them into the chat. Thanks a million, Philip. Okay, I'm going to move on to Dr. Dermot Lane, who I can see is powering through some chat questions there in the chat. And again, thank you to all of the faculty reps who are answering those questions. I can see them coming in thick and fast. So thanks for that, everybody. So there's been lots of questions around the PME. So Dermot, I will allow you to work away in your presentation.
Thank you so much, Niamh, and welcome everybody. So can you see my screen there?
Just waiting for you to share it there. I think we can see the slides, the PowerPoint itself. Maybe put it into presenter mode.
Oh, okay.
I'm seeing it here, Niamh, just as a reference.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, work away. I can
Great.
see it,
Okay.
but if you want to present it as a slideshow,
Yeah,
you
that's
can.
fine. Okay, yeah. Okay,
Perfect.
so just starting out, following Petra's and Philip's lead, who we're looking for, anybody that has a minimum 2 level 8 degree in a discipline area that we provide in UL, and so anybody who wants to be a secondary school teacher in Ireland, and I'll talk about the disciplines shortly. In terms of any questions, hopefully I've done a decent job in answering any questions that people have posted in the chat. If you have any other questions, please feel free to email me at pme@ul.ie. And also, if you check out our webpage, which I've listed here, you will find all details in relation to entry requirements, and we also have a frequently asked questions link in there as well. So hopefully that will be of benefit to you. So our disciplines that we offer in the PME are business, technology, physical education, science, music, and languages and mathematics. So if you have a level 8 degree in any of these areas, you will be able to apply to UL for a place on the PME, provided you meet the criteria. So this is where the PME is a little bit complex. UL has a level 2 to level 8 degree as their standard entry requirements into most level 9 master's programs, but we also have to ensure that you will meet the teaching council requirements, which I'll speak about in a second. You have to meet the English language proficiency there as well, and everybody is Garda vetted before they come onto the program. So the teaching council are the people who accredit our program, and they have very strict criteria in relation to any graduates from the PME and who they are going to register. So they have detailed for all of their subject areas, they have detailed, and I'll just click onto it here, hopefully it'll work. They have listed all the subject areas here, and if you go into any of these subject areas, you will be able to see what the specific criteria are that the teaching council have set out. Generally, they'll have essential areas of studies, and their general requirement is 60 ECTS in order to meet that. So that's very, very important that you familiarize yourself with whatever subject you'd like to specialize in and engage with the pathway leads, who I'll list there shortly. So that is that in a nutshell. So these are the subject declaration forms, yeah, and it's up to you to accurately declare your credits. It's very difficult for us to definitively say if your program will meet the requirements, but we will engage with you and we'll mentor you around that in terms of how you can unpack the level 8 program that you have studied. Our subject specialist contact details are provided here. So I'll be sharing these slides afterwards. Please note, we don't offer pathways in subjects like, we get a lot of queries about mainstream English. We don't offer any pathway in English. We offer English as a second language, but that's not a main subject in the secondary school. History, geography, we don't offer either. So just please note that. The PME program is a 2-year full-time program of study, so 2 semesters per year, and we say to all students that you would need to be available 9 to 6 Monday to Friday for timetabled classes, and make yourself available for those. The PME builds on what you've already studied at level 8. So if you want to be a teacher of physical education, you have to have a level 8 in that area. Because when you come into UL, believe it or not, most of your study in the PME is in education and professional studies, the study of subject pedagogy, and in your school placement as well. We do not really teach you subject-specific skills and knowledge, because it's expected that you have that from your level 8 program already. The PME at UL has 2 10-week blocks of placement. These occur in semester 2 and semester 3. So a couple of messages in the chat and in a form that Niamh sent beforehand. UL organises your school placement for you. When you start the PME, before you even come on to PME, we send you out a form where you list, I think it's up to 10 schools that you would like to do your school placement in, and UL reaches out to those on your behalf. Generally, we get a match through those lists, but there are no guarantees. It's becoming a little bit difficult in recent times, but UL does its best and will engage with you in relation to that. So these are the main areas of your of the PME. So you can see that a lot of people are often surprised with the low amount of credits, which is only 24 credits for subject pedagogy, which is the teaching methods for your subject area. But again, that's on the understanding that you have all of this already done in your level 8 in terms of your subject knowledge and skills in the area. So again, I'll share these slides afterwards. This is just the structure of the program. Yeah, so I've covered all of this as well. This is all covered as well there. And we have additional information. I just saw a couple of messages in chat as well. We often get asked about credit shortfalls coming onto the PME. My rule of thumb here is that you should really have met the full teaching council requirements before you come onto the PME. There isn't really any space on the PME to take additional modules. That being said, you could come onto the PME, for example, with a full credit requirement for physical education, and you might say that you want to be a business teacher as well. Now, you might be just short 5 maybe or 10 credits in business, and we would say that, look, you can come onto the program, you can take additional modules in business, but that is on top of the PME workload as well, and then that you'll be able to apply to Teaching Council for accreditation as a business teacher also. But we don't encourage applications where there are significant credit shortfalls. So just to remind you, we expect at least one area fully met before coming onto the program. The fees are listed below, and that just to note that these change on an annual basis, and I'm sure they'll be spoken about in the call here. The other big thing, just before I miss it, is that you will submit your required documents to UL, but then we have an interview process as well for each of our pathways. People have been asking about what's the criteria for that. Well, the interview process is a little, it's more formative. We want to find out your intentions as to why you want to be a secondary school teacher. Often, if you have any shadowing or observing completed in a secondary school, that can be really beneficial because you can talk to that. And as well as that, having shadowed or observed will actually give you a really good idea what it's like on the other side of the desk, and it will really help you in terms of making this big decision coming onto a full-time program like this. So to have really thought about why you want to be a teacher, what it is that you think you can bring into the teaching profession, that's really what the interview process is about. Our applications are currently open. The details are on the website. The only one that will close a little bit earlier is the physical education, because we tend to have large numbers for that, and the rest of the subject pathways are closing at the end of March. So that is that. These testimonials are there as well. You'll find them on our website also. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, Niamh, I'm sure that you'll keep the ball rolling and you'll ask me a question or two anyway, and hopefully I've answered the questions in the chat.
That's brilliant, Diarmuid. Thank you so much. And I could see there was lots of questions answered in the chat as well. So just thanks a million. That's really informative. Just to draw on what you just said there around the highly prescribed programs and the interviews. So if a person makes an application for the PME, they first offered an interview but it's not is it done on a rolling basis, or do you wait to offer people interviews, or is it done kind of on a rolling basis, or when do the interviews take place?
Yeah, it's a good question. So some of the pathways will offer the interviews on a rolling basis. The likes of languages and business tend to offer them on a rolling basis. Others, such as the technology pathway, we leave it until we have a batch of applications.
Okay.
But physical education is the big one. And what physical education do is they actually have a shortlisting criteria. It's detailed on the PME website. So they might have 60 applications, let's say. They will reduce those down to maybe 40, and then they'll interview the 40. So all
Right.
applicants have to submit a cover letter as well as part of the application process. And then the interviews will take place for physical education. So just to note that's important there. So we've basically a mix of approaches there, Niamh, around when the interviews happen, how they happen, but just to note the shortlisting criteria for physical education. The rest of the subject pathways, you will be interviewed. If you apply, you will be interviewed. But I think the most important thing is for anybody who's interested in, if you have any questions, if you have any doubts, and similar to Philip, if you want to run something by the pathway lead in terms of your cover letter, even on what we're looking for, feel free to reach out to me at pme.ul.ie or the subject pathway leads, and they'll be more than happy to work with you.
That's great. Yeah, it's just good to know whether or not people are, if they have to schedule an interview in the future, or will they be getting it there and then. So you mentioned about the credits, and I suppose I just wanted to remind people as well that often when people need to make up like 10 credits, they think that it's not that much, and I'll make up 10 credits alongside my 120 module. 6 credits is a significant amount of work to make up. So just to warn, and I know you offer that option that people can study it in parallel, but bear in mind that a 6 credit module is a significant piece of work, even though it sounds like not a lot, but it is,
Right, yeah. And just
Yeah.
to note there as well, Niamh, that anybody who does take additional modules, and I agree with you that's our mantra, that ideally you don't take them because it's such a busy program. We're putting a lot of pressure on yourself,
Yeah.
but you can take those additional modules on a pass-fail basis, which reduces the pressure that's on you to get a high grade, because essentially teacher colleges just want to see that you have the credits and that you've passed it. So rather than taking it on a normal basis, you can take it as pass grade, which will reduce it a little bit, the pressure.
Yes, that's a very good point. And then just one last question around the programs that are in the most demand. So we were saying that PE, like, don't hang around, make your application, and really for all the pathways, but just to avoid disappointment, to make sure you get your application in. It's really generous of you to offer to review, applications on behalf of people, but it's really important that these programs are really, really popular. That's why Dr. Lane is here today. That's why Dr. Carney and Elthorpe are here as well. So these programs are very high in demand. So make sure to get your application in. That's great. Thanks a million, Dermot. And I'll let you off the hook as well. So thanks to everybody. Now, I think that we are just up to time. We have 1 minute left. Lynn, could I bring you in just one final time? Because I just see that there's a lot of questions around psychology.
Yeah.
I can just see them coming along. Yeah. And you're answering them, and that's fine. But I'm just wondering, could you just give out like 20 seconds as to the overview of the MA, the diploma, the doctorate?
Yeah. Well, starting with the diploma, we offer this online diploma in psychology. It's for people who are interested in pursuing a career in psychology, but may not have a background in psychology. For example, teachers, nurses, who might have touched on it in their undergraduate degree. So they can come and do this online 1-year program full-time or 2-year part-time program. Then you decide whether you want to pursue a career in psychology. If you do, you would do the conversion master's program. The diploma in psychology will give you enough ECTS credits to get onto the MA in psychology, which is a conversion program. This is a 1-year full-time program and gives you an accredited master's in psychology. Then, if you decide to pursue your psychology degree even further, you can go on and do a master's. We offer two. We offer the MSc in Psychological Science, and we offer the MSc in Clinical and Community. And the MSc in Psychological Sciences has a number of different streams, including clinical, social, research, and health. It's a one-year program. I did mention that the other program, the MSc in Clinical and Community, I mentioned that program. That's a 2-year program, and it has more clinical modules. I'm not saying it is a better program to do if you're interested in clinical, but it's there and it has more clinical modules. Then, once you have that done, normally the traditional route is people can normally go out and work. Normally they would work with the HSE or TUSLA, or depending on what they want to do. If clinical seems to be popular this afternoon. If it is clinical, they would work with the HSE for a while and apply to the doctorate program. The reason I say a while is I can't say what the average number of years you would need to spend working, but I do know the clinical program is extremely competitive. We have very few places. We have between 11, 12 or 13 places depending on the year. And I mean, over 200 applications
Hundreds
for
of
those
applications.
programs. Yes. I mean, it is very hard for, to get a place on that program. However, people do, suppose people look at people's research while they're working as assistant clinical psychologists. Other psychology streams, you may not need a doctorate program. But in UL, that's what we offer.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for that whistle stop tour last minute. Lynn, thank you so much, and thanks for answering the questions. Just a final reminder that I'm going to bring this to a close today. Thanks so much, Lynn. Thank you so much to everybody who attended. And I am going to bring it to a close. A reminder that if you would like to come and meet us in person, our open day is happening here on the 17th of January. So if you'd like to come and see the campus, I really encourage you, if you are around, come and see the campus, meet us in person, meet the faculty reps in person, ask your questions again if you really want to. It's a really good experience to see the campus, to meet people, and to really immerse yourself in UL life. So I'm going to draw to a close. Thank you so much to everybody who attended. Thank you to all the faculty reps and our speakers today, and of course our moderators. Thanks everybody, and have a nice Christmas, actually, Christmas and New Year. So we'll see you in the new year on the 7th of January.